What is the most power you can make in one chunk? I want to find out. But before we start this experiment, I should probably specify a couple requirements that I want to go with for this. The first being we're going to measure all of this within one chunk, a 16 by 16 area. And two, this is going to be made using means attainable in survival mode, so no creative motors, no creative tanks, and none of that funny business. This has to be able to be done in survival mode. There's going to be four main things we're testing here, the first of being a water wheel, a large water wheel, a windmill, and the good old steam engine. And I think the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to try and build it within a sub-chunk and then scale that from bedrock all the way up to world height. Because when I say one chunk, I mean the full 256 blocks. No, that's not right. It's more than that now, isn't it? So to begin with, I'm going to be making the most compact setup for each of these things in one sub-chunk, and then taking that and stacking them on top of each other and below all the way across the build limit, and then hopefully we can get our stress outputs. First on our list is the small water wheel, and I think the most compact way we can probably lay these out is to have them in rows of one like this, as close as we can get them together, which unfortunately does give us one block of wasted space on the very end, but I think it should be fine. And then if we just fill in the areas between these, and then we simply run water buckets all along the top here, and I haven't thought about how we're going to collect all of this stress into one place, which unfortunately I think we will have to sacrifice a row of water wheels here. Oh, they're not going to connect, are they? Right. Yeah, so quick redesign, and all the water wheels are now going the same way, which is going to make hooking up the power a significant amount easier. Well, this strange arrangement of cogs seems to work, but it does go outside of our one chunk border, so either we lose another block of water wheels to fit this in, or we just kind of let this one slide. Seriously, I've already spent like 30 minutes on this, so I'm just gonna let this one slide. All right, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it. Anyway, with a pair of goggles and a stressometer, we are already at 123,000. Wow. Okay, that is a lot more than I expected, actually, and just 6 blocks tall. And it was a mighty build, but we are finally at the build limit. This thing is, yes, this is a lot of water wheels. Why have I done this? What is the purpose of this? However, it is time for the all-important question. How much stress does this many water wheels make? Ooh-wee, that's a lot. 5 million stress units in one chunk solely from small water wheels. That's kind of insane. And, earlier when I said that these would be doable in survival, that was more of a technicality. I mean, technically, it's possible to do this. I don't know why you would, but it's technically possible. However, after building this monument to my entire tutorial comment section, I think I'm gonna need a fresh world for each of these, because yeah, we're already at 30 frames, and yeah, I fear for the rest of this. I forgot to make it a super flat world. And I made it in survival. Okay, there we go. That's better. So large water wheels. What is the minimum distance we can place these from each other? Can actually clip into each other. And that seems to work. So we can actually get quite a few in here. Interesting. Yeah, it looks like we can get a 5 in our little chunk area here. So all I'm going to do is fill these out, and we can see how we're going to power them with some water. Some agua, if you will. H2O, perhaps. Which, to be fair, I think maybe we're going to be able to get away with the same trick we used last time, where we just do a block space here, and this way they're all going to be flowing the same way. It makes connecting them up nice and easy. Now the question is, at what height do these need to be caught by that flowing water? There. Okay, so then we can just do our second layer of water wheels, and we're pretty much just going to copy exactly what we did with the little water wheels, but just on a much bigger scale, really. And with just one shaft there to connect it all up, I believe this is ready to be stacked to the skies. Here we go again. God, the lag of placing these things in is unbearable. Oh, why do I do this to myself? And I haven't done the math to work out if this is actually going to make more or less power than the small water wheels, so I'm going to be really interested in seeing that. Okay, I've been placing these for about 2 minutes and I'm already bored, so I'm going to attempt to make a big schematic. My computer may well explode when I try to load this, but we're going to see what happens, because that sounds fun. Oh, dear. Uh-oh. This seems bad. Yeah. Yeah. Alt scroll up. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, dear. I've not aligned it with the chunk. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's in the shape of one chunk, so you know what? We're gonna let that one slide. Oh god, I forgot about the freezing. While I'm falling down the 800 miles, let's just get some goggles and caves and cliffs. Feeling this isn't the last time I'm going to be getting that advancement today. 2.2 million. Wow, okay, that's actually significantly less than the small water wheels. That's really surprising, by that much as well. You know, 2.2 million stress units isn't exactly anything to sniff at, but yeah, I'm actually amazed that that's so much less than the small water wheels. Technically, you could build one of these in survival and still run your game at a semi-decent speed. I wouldn't recommend it. You know, I think one day I'm going to power one of my tutorials with this and just say this is how many large water wheels it takes to run. This many. Anyway, you know what it's time for. Windmills. Ah, I forgot to disable structures and mob spawning. Yeah, they just live there now. Okay. And the windmills are sure going to be interesting, because the thing about these is once you turn them on, they become like a block entity, so you can build right through these things. So I could very easily build another windmill inside this windmill. My only worry with this is I don't know if it's actually going to save the windmill sails in the schematic. So it appears that when we paste in a schematic like this one doesn't update, but this one that we saved, it will break all the blocks inside it before we can turn it on, which means I think for the sake of this experiment, we won't be able to do any overlapping windmills for this. And the neat thing is, a windmill can be any shape really, so we can just go straight up like this. Then we can turn that on, and then we can build another one right next to it here. Although actually, if I do that, is that gonna... Oh, it's gonna update the whole thing. Interesting. So, yeah, made this monstrosity. I kind of tried to alternate black and white sails so I could kind of keep up with which ones were which, and it's ended up just being a whole big mess. I think I'm just gonna work out the math for this one and then move on to the steam engines. We all know that's why everyone's here anyway. So, it's time. Some very quick math. Okay, so we have a 16 by 16 area, which gives us 256 windmill bearings per section. We have to take away just one to connect everything up with a shaft, so 255 windmills gives us 130,560 SU per layer, which is 10 blocks tall, taking the chain drive and bearing into account. Now, one chunk is 384 blocks tall, so we can easily work out we can fit 38 segments stacked on top of each other in the chunk. So we times the SU of one segment by 38, giving us a theoretical stress output of just under 5 million. But with all of the cheap methods done, it's time for the steam engine. My computer is about to explode, I fear. Now, the steam engine is going to be an interesting one, because obviously we can go for the 3x3 level 9 steam engines, which will be this big. Or we have the option of potentially going for a smaller one, like a 2x2. And the difference is obviously if we do a smaller one, we're going to be able to fit more of them per layer. And I don't know if that will actually yield more stress output. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build like two sides of this, one with the 2x2 engines, one with the 3x3, and we're going to see which one we can like get the most stress output from. So to test my theory, I've set up this here. So we have 8 level 4 steam engines versus 5 level 9s. So the level 4s produce 524,000 versus 700 with further the extra block space. Okay, so I definitely think that the bigger steam engines are going to be worth doing. And after quite a bit of fiddling, I think I'm starting to kind of put something together that I think is going to work. So here on the front, we have the lava bucket recycling. So obviously we're going to spout lava into buckets. They're going to be grabbed by these arms and put into the blaze burners. Now, all this space up here has been left empty because obviously we're going to want to put shafts here for our engines, but I've just left them out for now, so it actually makes it like possible to see in here. And once we kind of mirror this to this side, how much space is that going to give me for lava bucket farming? Oh, not a lot actually. Oh. I mean, what's that going to be? That's going to be like 32 lava buckets powering a lot of blaze burners. Okay, I don't think this is going to work. Man, this was so much more difficult than I thought it was going to be, but check this thing out. Hell yeah. I ended up actually going with the 2x2 steam engines. I just couldn't fit the 3x3s in and still have enough room for a reasonable sized lava farm in the middle. With the 2x2 engines here, I managed to fit 14 of them, as well as having a pretty healthy sized lava farm to go with it, and I think this should keep up with everything. Annoyingly, I did have to sacrifice one engine on each side just so we could fit in the rotation speed controllers, because I'm doing the thing that you should never ever do, and I'm saying this now with all sincerity. Never power your steam engines with themselves. But for the purposes of the video, with keeping everything compact and stackable and stuff, I didn't really want to sacrifice steam engines for like water wheels to power all the pumps and stuff. So I'm kind of going to turn this thing on, see how it runs at full power and how much it's actually taking to run itself. I did have to make a couple modifications just so it all links together properly. And now, hopefully, all of these should be running at max. Oh god, I didn't put any buckets in it. So with the entire thing fully powered up, how are we looking? Ooh, 5%. That's not bad, actually. We're still getting 620,000 per layer, which means it's time for pain. Oh, I've got to stack this so many times. I mean, the good news is I can actually move these steam engine schematics around without it, like, literally turning my game at 1 FPS, so that's pretty good. Although I realize now it's not gonna save the buckets, is it? Oh. And if my math is right, we have 14 of these, and we're gonna have to repeat this at 5 blocks tall, probably about 60 times. I really don't fancy manually placing about 700 buckets in this thing, which means it's time for more of Skeej's quick maths. So each section makes 619,520 SU after taking off the cost to run itself, 384 blocks of world height, each segment is 5 blocks tall, we can fit 76 of these bad boys in one chunk. Times this by this, we get a theoretical maximum stress output of 47,083,520 SU. Now that's a lot of stress. I knew steam engines were going to win by a mile, so there's nothing learned there. I'll be real with y'all, this video is just an excuse for me to build a stack of water wheels to the build limit, because I just thought it'd be really funny. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. This is... yeah.